Hi, I'm the Scrutineer and I'm here on simnews.tv, and if you're looking for everything there is to know about the WTF1 GPVWC Superleague, you're in the right place here on simnews.tv. Evening everybody, I'm here, I'm the Scrutineer, yes I'm back. We are here for, you've got me again, another week on, here every Monday now. I'm sorry, but we're here. Here, everything there is to know about the WTF1 GPVWC Super League. There's an awful lot to go through, there always is, and this time is no exception. In fact, this time's probably got even more than sometimes, because after this round we hit the summer breaks. There's an awful lot to think about. We won't be on a summer break though, because we've still got a lot to go on about, and like season reviews and things like that, but we'll come on to that later. In the meantime, this show's all about the German Grand Prix that comes up this Thursday. So I want to say hello to everybody already in the chat, so that's great. So we've already got George in there, we've got Jeff, Dennis, Alex, Matches, Yargo. Hello everybody, nice to see you all joining and saying hello. We have actually got the super chat function live now on GPV. They've added that for us, which is very nice. If you want something to particularly stand out to us, particularly a question you want me to answer, I suppose if you really super chat it, I can't not really answer it to a point. If it's setup related, sorry I can't pass it on, not my deal. But anything else, if you wanted something to know or something I haven't come across before, then that might be the way to do it. Yeah, sorry about the static noise, but deal with it. Basically, for now, unfortunately, we're working on things. Come on, look, nice graphics last time. Things are progressing. Give us a summer break to sort something else out, eh, guys? In the meantime, though, we'll go through the normal routine. So we've got the car upgrades. There's quite a lot of them. We've then got engine upgrades. There's even some of them. We've got then the engine choices, and then we go through tyre choices, and finally we get some lovely some lovely highs and lows, who I think might do well, who I think might fail, and we're actually going to look at car development as a total, including the time difference as well this time around. So before I've been talking all about development points, this time I'm going to tell you actually we've been pretty close from what we think the different cars' time differences on a lap, basically. So it gives it a bit more relatable actually for everybody else come Thursday to actually know why on earth a car may be lagging behind, or why one might move forwards, or why I think they're going to do particularly well. Some of them are obvious, some of them might surprise you actually, so we'll go through it. More people joining us, thank you very much. Mike Bell as well, hello guys, it's good to see you all. So we'll go through and we're going to start, as we normally do, with championship order. So guys that haven't done this before, haven't seen us, make sure you watch back all the previous scrutineers, because not all of this will make sense necessarily to you. Don't go too far back, it looks quite embarrassing to be fair when I look back now, but you have to start somewhere. In the meantime though, we'll start with ACR in championship standings. So there we go. So they have brought upgrades here. So we spoke about previously where teams were getting near to the 100, so obviously 100 is the max you can get. So for example, the diffuser there on the ACR was at 88. You'll see that the weight was also, if you don't remember, the weight was also previously around the same figure. So you had to then decide really, do you develop that area because you still think that's the best area and max it to 100%, but you could, it still takes you the same amount of time. Your minimum you can take is 21 days anyway. So you're effectively wasting time. So you could have, say, developed, it might only have taken 3 days development or something to get you to the top to 100. So you've wasted then another like 18 days worth of development that you could have if you'd spent 21 days developing in a different area. So you've got to weigh that up. So in this case, ACR decided to use one of their slots on weight, so they took that to the 100, but they didn't max out, so only needed 12% to get there. So whereas you probably could have done more, double that nearly. Whereas and then they've started a different area, so they've now swapped. So this is the first time I've seen ACR not do just weight and diffuser all year. So we're now at the halfway stage. They've now gone, well, we're not going to max out both areas because we would have probably lagged behind a little bit because you wouldn't have been able to develop them as much. But they have now started the rear wing downforce. Okay, so that's now the new one. That took 16% in the same time frame. Only got 12 on weight, and we know actually the first development is the slowest of any. As you develop more, the faster that it develops. Even like in the same time frame, it develops faster. So starting a new area is always slower. What we'll find as we go through is that actually teams that are starting to max out areas, so mostly the top teams that we've seen previously, have then been caught slightly because other teams can develop their areas quicker in the same time frame. You can't go higher than 100, so people catch you up, basically. So that's that's ACR for now. We think we've gone the right way, but time will tell. Edge sitting in second. They were the ones that were a bit odd in that they were doing every other round, if you remember rightly. So they carried on the weight, but they did bring one last time. I believe it was the front wing, if I remember rightly. I could be wrong, but if not, you'll still expect to see them one next time as well. Teams can't upgrade their cars differently, right? Presume you mean teammates? No, the team itself is the same. They get exactly the same units as none of this. Vettel gets a upgraded package ahead of Raikkonen or any of that malarkey here. You get the same car, which does mean that you need drivers with very similar driving styles to a degree. You can't build a car around one driver and then not cater for the other one, because that one will struggle. So Edge, because they're doing one each time, they're never right at the top anymore car development wise, which we'll come on to, but they are developing something each time. They have been one of these front wing downforce teams and moving now towards the weight and diffuser elements. Maybe they watch this show. Epic. Now, Epic, they had already maxed out weight last time, which is why we tipped them to do well, and they did. They've then chosen to max out diffuser this time, so they've lost a bit of development gain there. We know, if you watched, I want to say 2-3 rounds ago now, Epic sort of caught everybody else out, did a great job, and ended up with development ahead of everybody else. That's kind of been negated a little bit now, in that having to max out both areas means they've lost a good probably 10% on each one in the same time frame. They haven't, because they maxed it out, but other teams that weren't at the max have gained that on them, whereas they had stolen that ahead of time beforehand. But now what they have started doing is body drag. But you see, they've only got 11% there. That presumably is down to the fact that it's first upgrade, so it's always going to take a bit longer, and they probably find that their staff member for aero probably isn't the top guy you can get for that area. That's why it's a little slower. I'd normally expected around 15-16% as the first, in a 21-day stretch, and we know that Epic do just 21-day stretches. So, potentially we might see them just doing body drag from now on. That might be where they think going. They have done front wing in the past, so that might be what they decide to do. We're not sure. Evolution sit fourth still. They've got 2 developments for this time. They have gone with weight as well, but you'll see there actually they haven't been able to get to the 100 just purely on the. I don't think they even will bother for the 1%, but if they get to get to 99, they obviously they had the deadline of the Friday before, so you can't go past that to get to the 100. You'd have missed it for this round, so they did it for the Friday, presumably got to 99, so they actually developed 25% there. So you see the difference there, whereas like developing the same area in the ACR, they only got 12% in the same time. These guys got 25, so actually the overall development they've caught up. And then they also did diffuser as well, so they've got a pretty good diffuser now, 83. Now they've got the decision as to whether or not they develop diffuser again next time out, because that will miss, they'll easily be able to do that up to 100%, but they'll miss out on some development which they could have used elsewhere. Basically. So they've got choices ahead of them as well, but they will have caught up the guys at the front. We've got Hawkeye. They're still sitting there in the standings in 5th. They're doing weight and diffuser. They did diffuser to 100%, but you'll notice actually it took them 23. So actually they haven't really dropped much there. It's kind of worked out quite nicely for them. It sort of sat. Their development wasn't really that bad, so pretty good. It's worked out quite nicely for them. They have done a front wing before, and now they're just doing weight and diffuser. So they obviously do watch the show. So hello, Hawkeye. Nice to see you here. And they keep carrying on with the weight at 25% as well there. So that's getting to be quite a decent car. Norton sitting down here at the moment. Now this is a bit of a weird one. We've spoken before that they started off the season doing front and rear wing. That was a decision they made. A few other teams did start off that way. Norton then decided, actually, we won't do that. We're going to go weight and diffuser. We're going to start catching up guys on weight and diffuser. Makes sense. A lot of teams have been doing that and seeing them catch up. And in fact, now, as we just spoke about, they've caught up even more because the top teams can't develop that area anymore. But they haven't done that. They've stopped developing those areas and gone back to front and rear wing. I remember the start of the season results were great for you, weren't they, Norton? Good work there. So, yeah. I would stop peeking into the Street Fighter garage if I was you guys. Right, Flag to Flag have jumped up a few places in the standings, so they're now sitting just behind Norton. They have obviously been watching the show, and they do weight and diffuser. They might not watch the show. I just take credit for anyone doing weight and diffuser nowadays. But they are catching up pretty closely. They're going to have the same thing with weight. They're going to have to decide whether they do that area, although they did only get 19%, so they might actually be able to do that again and just get themselves to the 100. They may not lose out much, particularly because their staff aren't quite as good, so it does take them a bit longer. And they did defuse as well. They'll probably do another upgrade on that, I'd imagine, pretty soon. Rfactor, they also brought upgrades. Their weight was already at 94, so they chose not to develop that area to 100%. I presume they're just going to leave it at that now at 94. There's very little difference that they think they can make better gains elsewhere. So they gain 22% on diffuser, and they gain 23% on the front wing downforce. Makes sense? Why would you develop weight to only 6 when you could develop 20 something on somewhere else? Storm. Dropping back in the standings now, but still developing the car, which is nice to see. No one's given up, by the way, developing the car yet. We're coming to the halfway stage, so we'll see if anyone keeps going after the halfway point. But they should do, because it's not costing that much to do this year. They've done weight, so they've done 25% there. The diffuser at 88 obviously made that decision going, do we do that to the 100? They've decided not to. They've decided to do it over the front wing. Perfectly fine as well, if that's an area they want to do. They've done body drag in the past as well, and they had done front wing already, so it is speeding up that area. Fair enough. Eval, yeah, they did pretty, considering actually the car they had last time out, where we expected them to bring upgrades, and they didn't, and we slated them for it a bit, but then Kilt managed to drag that car into the points. Fair play to you. Eval have brought a lot of upgrades here, so effectively this is like most people did 3 weeks. I think these guys have done about 5 maybe. So they brought weight 31% and diffuser at 26%. Now those two areas, particularly as we've kind of learned, they're key areas now. Most teams have done it anyways. Even if it wasn't a key area, you're now catching up the other teams. So to be doing those areas with quite big leaps could make this car quite decent actually, compared to others around them at this area of the standings. Adonis, they've also done weight and diffuser. They were on a bit of the catch up as well, but they've got some good points there at 23 and 24. So they'll, looking at that, they've done other areas as well, but they have now stuck to these areas, and it is showing in the speed of that car. Particularly, I know they've had a few driver issues, and we hope that people injuries and such are recovered over the summer break. But in the meantime, they managed to bring the weight and diffuser upgrades, which pulls them back again up to where we would potentially expect. We'll come on to where it actually sits them at the end of all this. Missouric, they're down the back. We've said a couple of rounds ago that actually they should be really performing this a bit better, and the car's good. They should be doing well. So I'm not quite sure what's going on here at the moment. They've developed weight again, which again 22% is fine. The diffuser was at 93, so they had a very good diffuser anyway. So they decided not to use that 7%, and they decided to do a second upgrade on the front wing downforce, which gets them to 34%. We'll come on to what all this means as we go through. Everybody's favourite now, Street Fighter. Surprise, surprise. No weight, no diffuser. No excuse now. A few rounds ago it was, well, you might not have listened to me, you've submitted the things already, these are, we've got to wait 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, that's gone. Another upgrade's gone, and we're still here. I'm not even gonna. They've done front wing, and they've done body drag. Okay. They're kind of getting there now. They did weight to 80, which is fair enough. Diffuser, they've done 11%, which could be an upgrade for them. If that area is particularly hard for them, they have developed that area more in one upgrade before, so that's not, that's not that at all. I don't know, 11% on diffuser, that's the right area, but not enough. And then 6% on the front wing downforce. I'm speechless. 6%? Yeah. Did you mean to do front wing drag? Is that what you were trying? I don't know. We'll come on to that because that's pretty shocking. But they're at the back, so they're giving up. I don't know. Nice to see, guys. So anyone in the chat there? Nice to see Whoopkie saying he just can't drive the car. That's a shame. Maybe some mods and cars just don't suit the drivers. Missouri particularly did very well in Super Cup last year. That car obviously suited them. Whereas maybe the way that you have to set up the Super League car with the developments that go on the car to get there doesn't suit that driving style. I don't know. And if you have to change your driving style, that really does take some time to get quick at as well. But they were thereabouts, pipping up points here and there, and they are still gaining on the guys behind them. But it's very, very close still within that area, all the way up to about 7th. So as we spoke about in the Aftermath show, if you haven't seen that, make sure you look back on this channel. In fact, we did that. So not only have we got Chris Shepherd on here as well now. Hello. There goes the neighbourhood. So we've got engines next up. So we have our upgrades here. So we've got, well, normally you've seen every engine manufacturer upgrade for every other round, which is understandable. As we spoke about a few weeks ago, we will be getting to the stage now where manufacturers will be either slowing down or stopping completely development on these engines. This is mainly because it costs an awful lot more to develop the engine than a car part, and you can't carry them over from last year. So whereas most teams in the Super League for their car development has already got a pot of R&D points, and engine manufacturers have to start from scratch at the start of the year, so they basically will have the same amount of points as long as they don't miss any tests. Now we'll go through a few of these have missed tests, which is why we think where we're at. But you look at this, and 3 engine manufacturers have brought upgrades, 1 hasn't. So Quasar hasn't brought upgrades, but we have noticed they've probably dropped about 100 R&D points based on only the manufacturer team earns engine R&D points, so that's when Epic are doing tests. So if Epic are missing laps and things like that, that's where it loses out. It doesn't quite take much across the, across half a season so far. We're only talking 100 points. That's basically 1 free practice effectively they've lost over the space of it. They haven't actually missed a free practice, but that's what that is. But yeah, so that's kind of, I'd imagine they're probably saving those points and going to do a bigger upgrade for somewhere like Monza. That sort of thing is a normal sort of specialty for someone to do as well. In the meantime though, we've seen Martex carry on with power. Now, as the opposite of cars, as you develop an area more in engines, it slows down its rate of development. So for example, they were already at like 55, so to develop any further power, whereas we've seen them developing 16 to 18% of an area, they only developed 6. So you're reading, they've had to weigh up if that better gain than doing say fuel, which would have been a better one, as in a better from a perspective of how many point gain you get. Talos did the same. They started at a lower point actually, but only did 4%. That suggests to me they've run out of points. To only get 4 when they started at a lower point than Martex, that doesn't make any sense at all to me. Either that or they've just done a very small upgrade because they want to save some points and do a bigger one further down the line. Because we are kind of at the stage now where the Martex, Talos and Valiant here that have all done upgrades, I'd imagine haven't probably got enough points to do another upgrade straight away. So they earn say free practice on Thursday, they'll earn another possible 100 engine R&D points, things like that. Apologies, Quasar is edge, but either way they've still lost 100. I meant them. Doesn't matter. Anyways, they'd be glad probably to have it at the moment, to be fair. And then Valiant, which is done by ACR, have changed tact and gone with mapping. So you see, nobody had done any mapping before, which increases your boost. So they have, and they've done 18% in the same time frame there. So you look at that, actually, if you just look at overall development, we do say before it doesn't matter where you put it. Of course, it matters where you put it. But for 4, 6, and 18. You kind of go, well, is a 4% against an 18 on boost? We'll find out which is better. They have got good fuel efficiency, the Talos, and that does open up opportunities for them as well. Yeah. Alright guys, one mistake. This time it's my fault. So we'll go through engines now. So this is something new for you as well. Look at this. So we've got Risto here on a 39% engine, which is Unit 3 for this race. Alex Siebel is on a 69%, which is Unit 4. But if you look underneath that, everyone has 6 engine units that they can use during the season. They can buy 2 more if they want to further on. It costs them £1 million and a back of the grid penalty for each engine that they do that for. But it shows you there, we're going to go through what all the other engines they have so far and what percentage they are at, or within 1 or 2% roughly. So you look at that, say for example under Risto Capit there, we've got the engine unit 1 has a 29% life left on it. Engine unit 2 is low enough that you cannot use it, you can't select it, that's what that says effectively. Unit 3 is in use, so that's why that's blank. Unit 4 has 35%, and Unit 5 and 6 has not been touched yet, fresh engines. You go to Alex Siebel, he has 29, he can't use Unit 2, he has a 65, he's using Unit 4 at 69, and then has 2 fresh units. Make sense to everybody? Because we're going to do that for everybody. So yes, that was my team, and I know the exact figures on that one, of course. It must be noted that Alex Siebel has slightly better engines because he had 2 DNFs at the start of the year. If you have done most of your, and they were quite early on in those races, it means you don't use, you only use your engines per kilometre you run. So if you don't run long, if you retire on the last lap, or if you're retiring on the first lap, it makes a difference, which is why we've seen some people potentially parking the car at times. But we'll go through some others now. So we are thinking there's probably allow a small error range here, guys, but it gives you an idea anyway as to where everybody will be at. I mean, we're not talking huge gains and losses here from each of these percentage differences, but you're probably talking a couple of tenths if you're down to like a 30% engine, that sort of thing, basically. So we go to Edge now, and you look at that. There's a few interesting ones as we go through this actually. So they are using a 68 and a 70 unit engine, perfectly fine, unit 4s. But you look at it and go, Jarl has got 2 units he cannot select, unit 1 and 2. He's got a 52% unit engine, he's using unit 4 and he's got 2 fresh. Petter has got 2 around 30, 1 he can't use, and 2 fresh engines. It's interesting at this point, right? Epic is the one you want to watch out for. So, you look here, right, so compared to the other ones we've been looking at, you go look at Jeffrey Fournier, he's using 100% engine here, that's his last fresh engine of the 6. For the season, we're halfway for the season. Now he can buy 2 more, you can only buy 2 more once you have used your engines once. So the teams we've seen already cannot buy a new engine if they wanted to for the next round. They haven't used them all. Jeffrey can, if he wanted to, buy a fresh engine next time out. So I think that's interesting, and potentially Boyer Milan might be heading that way as well. He's using unit 5 now, so he's only going to have 1 fresh engine left after this. But I think that Fournier one could be an interesting one. He could be one of the first people, particularly at the top, to actually buy a fresh engine, which does include a back of the grid penalty, which you can use as a bit tactically. DC aren't going to quite like me for this, I suppose. You can, if you know, for example, if you're Jeffrey there and you go, right, after this Grand Prix, I know I'm going to have to take, or I would like to take a fresh engine. I can't remember where we get to after the summer break, if I'm honest, I haven't looked that far ahead. If we wanted to use a fresh engine there, he knows he's going to have the back of the grid anyway. What's to stop him cutting in qualifying here? Get pole, have a good race, get you back of the grid. He's going to have to serve the back of the grid anyway. There's going to be a few tactics that come into it going forwards, but this might be the first test we get to see of it. Most people will do that at some stage along the line. It's just that Fournier might be the first one we see. Might not be. He's got plenty of other engines he can use around the 60 area, but it's interesting that they decided to use a lot of fresh engines to give themselves the option, I think, of buying a new one. It is quite expensive, £1 million for a new engine, but, you know, can you put a price on winning maybe? I don't know, it depends on what people want to do. Ultimately, if you manage your finances well enough, £2 million should be a drop in the ocean. People are paying $20 million for their engines, paying more than that for one driver, so yeah. Dennis Jordan got a 34% engine in the Evolution with Tom Parker on a 65. They've both got 2 fresh units as well after this. Parker with a bit more in his due to a few DNFs. Hawkeye, Martini still in that car with 93% engine with 2 fresh ones as well. Costa also has 2 fresh ones, but 2 he cannot use at all, and his 70% one that he's using here. Nordschen, yeah, they're using a 37% and a 61% engine, so it's a slightly different choice there, guys. But they've both got 2 fresh engines as well, and in fact, Cooper's got another 61 because he had a few DNFs at the start of the year. Flag to flag, they've got Mark Hutchinson using a 35% engine and Michael Ayers using an 86. Yeah, Michael hasn't actually blocked out any engine yet, although that 15% one would be rather iffy. But you know, 2 fresh engines in both those cars is pretty average at the moment. Interesting to think though, guys, that we're halfway through. They get 6 engines, and by the end of this, we're halfway through the season. By the end of this, they'll have 2 fresh ones. So that does suggest most people won't get to the end of the year without buying them anyway. So you might as well potentially have the option to buy them early if you wanted to. Red Archer using 2 fresh engines here. So Pedro Gomez and Angeloni in that car, possibly for his last race here. Remember, it was announced he was doing till the summer break. I hope they do try and keep him in that car, but he may have options elsewhere. They both got 1 fresh engine as well. Storm, yeah, they've got basically fresh engines in that car. Liam with an 88% and Menno with 100. They've both got 2 fresh engines as well. Eval using 100 in Wright's car and 68 in Argo's. So a little bit of a change there, but Argo does have more fresh engines left, effectively. Yeah, good point out, Dennis. That 15 in Ayers could, of course, be unusable. We're guess working for most of these teams based on the kilometres run. and what they've actually been doing in the races. In particular the DNF, it could be completely out, but we're kind of, it's a best guesstimate. Come on, give us a bit of leeway. This is what we're trying to guess. If people want to tell us it all, that's fine. If you want to give us the actual info, we can put it all in. That'd be great, managers. Very sporting of you. But I understand people don't want to necessarily do that, so we're guessworking for everybody watching out there. Adonis, they have brought a 54 and a 70% engines. A little bit down that. We've also noticed there that Paisler will probably get a slip into that car as the reserve. F1's still not well enough with his foot, so we wish him well. But there's 2 fresh engines in Yuri's car, and there's still only 1 over in what is now Paisler's car, potentially. Zurich, they're using 2 used engines, Unit 4 and 3, so they've got 78 and 68, and they've both got 2 fresh engines as well, but 2 they cannot use whatsoever. Street Fighter, a lot of fresh engines down here, so they've got a 52% engine in Hull's car this time out, and Florian's got 66. Hull basically has 3 new engines, Florian has 2. Madcape, we have George Sutton still in that car with 59% and 60% for Olsen. They've got 2 fresh engines as well. Quite interesting, I think you'll find that. Something we haven't particularly brought up before, guys, there. I suppose all the different engines there, it's not something actually anybody really gets to see what's going on with these guys. So hope you like that. We're going to try and keep that updated a little bit. It is, you know, I've got to thank the guys that have looked that up and done all that. It's an awful lot of data to crunch, so great work, guys. There's so much that goes into the Super League behind the scenes that nobody really sees. All this stuff is being cracked between what's other people doing. It's a lot of sneaky guesswork as well, what we think they're going to do, what we're going to predict what they're going to do. This is what we try and bring over to you guys as well, in that you can try and connect the dots a little bit yourselves. Some people do that better than others, it seems. So then we go on to tyres. Obviously a massive change normally in the races these. We're seeing a little bit more formality than sometimes, and one team that hasn't. So there's mainly 2 ways that people have done here. Everyone's gone with the Ultra Softs, by the way, this time out. Nobody's gone the Street Fighter route and decided not to bring them, so they've all got Ultra Softs. So we've got the Ultra Soft, Super Soft and the Soft, quite a lot of teams. So in this case, on the front page here, we've got ACR, Evolution, Norwegian and Flag to Flag. Nice to see Flag to Flag coming with everybody else. They normally have a difference of opinion. And then there's the alternative one at the moment, which is the Ultra Soft, Super Soft and Medium. So they haven't got the soft, but they have got the mediums. So slightly longer potentially there on those tyres. And that was Edge, Epic and Hawkeye on that one. On the second one, we suddenly then go, I'll ignore the top one for a minute. You've also then got Storm, Eval, Missouric and Street Fighter all sort of doing the ACR kind of route. And then you've also then got Adonis and Madcape doing the alternative without the softs and with the mediums. And then Red Archer do the only ones without the super soft tyres, but they have got the softs and the mediums, so they're the oddball this time out rather than Flag to Flag as normal. So we'll highlight that on here. So you look at that and go, majority of the teams have gone with the 3 softest compounds, the Ultra Soft, the Super Softs and the Softs. There is a good alternative group there of Edge, Epic, Hawkeye, Adonis and Madcape that have all chosen the Ultra Softs, Super Softs and Mediums, and then Red Archer out on their own. You know, we're not seeing as huge differences as we had done in some races. Nobody's picking hard tyres, for example. Nobody's, you know, doing that whole element there. But it does suggest slightly that guys are going, well, actually, we want to have the option of a slightly harder tyre, maybe for some teams. Whereas others go, no, this is definitely going to be. We just want the quickest tyres around here. That's all we're going to need. So we pick the 3 quickest. You only have to use 2. So sometimes these teams use them a bluff as well. So it might be some teams go, well, we're only ever going to use the Ultra Soft and the Super Softs anyway, so rather than put the softs, we'll put the mediums all the other way around. So it just, you can play people a little bit with that, because then people start thinking, well, what strategy are they going to do, what are they going to do? So there's an awful lot of things that go into it as well. So should we have a look at the full development charts? Yeah, I think we shall. He speaks to people silently replying. So this was the total development points of all the teams. So you see that Epic are still at the top there, but they have been caught a bit. Red Archer car, we've always said it's been up there, but it's now up there in second, has caught up where the fact that people like Epic have lost some ground because they had to 100% an area. ACR also had to 100% an area, so you'd normally have seen them the other way around. Missouric, right up there, development point wise in 4th, but standings wise, yeah. You then go with Hawkeye, Storm, Evolution in there, Nordson down there, Street Fighter, not, you know, development point wise, mid pack. Adonis, then there's a bit of, all those are pretty close together. There's a drop down to flag a little bit. Edge as well, just there with them. Eval caught back up, they were a bit adrift, and then Mad Cape, still a bit adrift, but catching, really. Look at that, and it's not as bad now. The top bottom four, a little bit further apart, and Epic still a little bit further ahead than everybody else as well. So what does that mean? So that's development points. That sounds nice. I can sit here and go, well, that's great. Epic got 222 points development on the car. Well done. And Mad Cape, you haven't. You've only got, what, 159? I mean, to some people that goes, well, that's not really, doesn't help me. What does that mean to people? So, next one I'm going to show you is the car, the timings of it over one lap. Now, there's an awful lot of provisos with this that was going to go with it, because people will shoot us down and go, yes, I can jump in that car and go quicker than that, and I can get closer than that. I'm sure you can, but we're going purely off what we worked out pre-season, being for like each upgrade area. So we worked out on the percentage of upgrades for those areas, and this is what we think it is. This does not take into account engines of any type, doesn't matter. So this is just a bog standard car difference, so we're not talking a lap time, specifically an actual lap time. This is the difference between the cars. Yeah, so the engines doesn't matter. So if you've got a Martix in it, a Valiant, a Talos, does not matter, we haven't factored that in. Or if you've got a worn engine or not. So this is just the car development, what we think the difference is of what you bolted on the cars. Obviously, certain tracks this is different as well. So we're basing this around somewhere like a Silverstone. But if you were doing it here at Hockenheim, which is a shorter track and potentially a different type of track, then it could be a lot closer as well. But we'll show you now. I think it's quite interesting reading. If you have a look at that, try and memorise, look at a couple of teams, look what your team is maybe, and then we'll look at the time differences. So this shows you at the top there, that's the shortest lap time possible. So Epic there is the fastest car, is what we're showing there. Whereas you scroll all the way down to the bottom and you go with Street Fighter there at the slowest cars. That's saying plus 0.6 of a second effectively there is on the Epic car in a lap. That's basically what we're working that out as. So you look right at the top there and you go Epic is not even, it's half a tenth to the ACR car. Still ahead, but half a tenth in a lap. Again, when we're talking then engines included, engine life in it as well, and different tyres, this all kind of negates it, and you won't really be able to get to these exact figures if you tested each car, but this gives you an idea of the car differences themselves. You then go with Evolution, slightly behind as well, still less than a tenth of Epic, just past a tenth of Epic is Red Archer. You then go with the Missouri as well, is right up there. Hawkeye, again, I mean, look how close we're talking, all the way down. Let's try, who else we've got in there? Storm in there, Flag to Flag, Adonis. All of them with under 0.3 of a second between each other, behind Epic, effectively, which could easily be negated by, like I said, the engines or the tyre choices, that sort of thing. You then start going on to past the 0.3 of a second mark, and you go through to Norwegian, you go through to Mad Cape. You go through, which is a little hard, you go through to, who's that, Eval, Edge, and then Street Fighter. So you can kind of see where you look, where we think. Now this is of course primarily what we've worked on, but it kind of shows in the races, doesn't it, as well? You start looking and go, Epic, yeah, you go, well, I can understand now why Epic and ACR, Evolution are up there, and why, Hawkeye have been around this area. Obviously it's different previous races, this is now sort of where we think we are, upgrade wise. I like this graphic. I think it hopefully shows you a little bit more. So actually you look at that and go, yes, previous rounds in a way I've been absolutely berating Street Fighter. Why on earth is Street Fighter not scoring points? That's why 0.6 of a second off per lap. We're doing 70 odd laps. If they're scoring any points, well done to the drivers. You are being let down by your management and development team, basically. If you're choosing it though, then it's still your fault. But that's kind of how that would work normally. You go with it as well. But some people can prove me completely wrong in this. We do know that the driver's skill makes a massive, massive difference. And you'll go, well, why on earth are Edge all the way down there? Well, they haven't developed it so far as much as anyone else. The development just on pure points, they're quite far down there. They've done a lot of front wing as well, but they can make it work to them. It doesn't, they've been doing slightly different strategies. They've been doing tyre wear where they've won races this year. So this doesn't necessarily, this could mean nothing. But this is a pretty good guide, I think, for you all as to where you should be with it all. Disagree if you like, that's fine, but we'll just sort of go with this anyway. So, I think my reason to worry, first one up, Mad Cape. No surprise really that when picking them again, they are last. It's kind of an easy pick, but we're going to pick some others. But this one, what really got me this time out is the developments they put on the car this time. Before, I could see what they were doing, and they were moving that car up. If we went back to the car development, they were there or thereabouts with Nordson, who was scoring points. So why aren't Madcape? Well, that says it's then the drivers. Madcape, on the other hand, they developed a very small area of 6. Like, what's going on there? They're developing front wing of 6. That, to develop such a small area like that is not that your staff are not good enough, because that is you'll be getting about 10 or 11 if you're doing a full development. That's I've done a smaller development. I don't want to spend the money. I don't want to spend the R&D points. I haven't got those things, either ones. Why would you? If you're at that stage where you can only develop a small amount like that and you're at the back anyway, normally you'd give up. But I suppose if they're in that relegation battle, you've got to keep doing something. So I suppose fine, keep going with it, but it makes so little difference realistically on that, because everything's speeding up as well. So it's areas you developed before. So if it to speed up, I just cannot understand the development process of this. I go back to doing front wing drag, and then they did what did we do? Dirty air a few months back now. Madness. We've done this team's done repair pit stops without having done pit stop tyre change fully. I know the car crashes a lot, but you don't need that necessarily. This is just mismanaged. Some teams I think are unlucky. Some teams have made a decision at the start of the year and have stuck with it doggedly, going, we still think this is the right way. Madcape have changed things around. They don't know what they're doing. They seem to develop completely different areas all the time. They're just guessworking. Some of that is because they've got different drivers in. They pull different drivers out. But this just looks like incompetence at this stage. This team deserves to be relegated. They don't know what they're doing. They've got 2 drivers that don't know how to score. They can't develop a car right. This isn't the first time. You know, we've had a banned driver drive for them, and that's not necessarily their fault, but it doesn't look great on their reputation. Sorry guys, you're at the bottom. You've scored as many points as Green Stripes scored at this stage last year as well, and they got heavily relegated. I don't even see any hope. Reasons to worry may now be quite... I should probably have gone back to my previous titles of it, but there's definitely a huge reason to worry. It's not to say you cannot score points in that car. The car at the moment is not horrendous. It's bad, but it's not horrendous. There are teams that are worse. Yeah, they have done front wing drag this time, but it's such a small amount. And what I'm saying is, previously they have done dirty air previously as well. So, and I love the fact that Xavier's in the chat telling me it's fake news. Fantastic! I shall see you win on Thursday then, and you can completely come on the show on Aftermath and tell me to. Thank you, can't you? But I expect you to score no points. Sorry, but there you go. Just saying it as I expect it to be. So, next up, Nordson. I've kind of let them off a little bit this year, I realised, in that some other teams I expect to do well as this year as well have failed, so we've been sort of pushing on them and doing what's going on with them. But really, this is a team that's won 3 drivers' titles. Granted, they've been here 17 years. They've got the 2 most experienced drivers on the grid. They've got the most experienced manager, the admin. They've got titles under the belts. This team is mid-pack now. The car is lower than mid-pack. Arguably, you know, they started going the right way. I think they're now going the wrong way again. They seem to have just reverted back to tact. They've then decided to do a small... They're also running the Martex engine. I know I'm hearing that people aren't happy with the 6% power that they've put on the car this time out. You know, I know there's a few guys in the chat here from the team. Great. I hope it backs up your ideas. It certainly does for some teams. The donors seem to have kicked into a gear. You know, that side of things would be great. I think we've seen Fidek actually do some good rounds, which is a bit contradictory to what I'm saying now, but the qualification of these cars is shocking every time. It just shows the outer speed of that car is not there. And so these drivers are both very experienced, and they're having to try different things and different strategies and to try and get themselves back up into just some reasonable points. You know, these drivers are happy in the top 10 at this stage, and that should not be where Nordson are heading. This team nearly won the title last year as well. I've seen Nordson in the past drop behind as well. They did a great few years where they won a lot, then dropped down for a couple of years, mid-pack, and then came out all hitting and not dancing. So maybe they'll do the same again, but that just says I've given up. At this stage, they've reverted back to tact. We're doing what we wanted to do. We're not listening to anybody else. Yeah. I hope it's not. I really do hope Nordson keep moving forwards, but at the moment, they're scoring points. They're probably safe where they are in around 6th, just because the other teams aren't scoring enough or aren't consistent enough. Both, you know, Nordson do get most of their cars to the end most times. and so that potentially picks them up a few points here or there. They do some good overtakes. There's some good drivers in this team. They wouldn't have done so many, you know, got a double world title holder in this team, for goodness sake. And if they can't win, then there's something fundamentally wrong here, and we really need to regroup, see what's going on. They're not missing tests. David Johnson, that car, hitting the tests all the time, so they're not running out of R&D points. They're just choosing to do it in the wrong places. They are maybe, you know, we have seen a little bit of time management kicking in, but then they're slower. Some is that time management, or is it just anyway? I see that David's in the chat, so that's nice to see him in here. It's good somebody's listening. So yeah, I think Nordsten, about time we pick up now. I know second half of the season normally is a better move for you, so we're there now. This is now the second half of the season. I know there's summer breaks after this, but technically this is the second half of the season. So let's start now. Maybe move on forwards. David, I know that a few others are watching because they have told me previously, but may not be enjoying the chat, so that's fine. So there are two that I think are to worry. Now I think there's two teams that I want to look at in a positive way that I think are going to do very well out of this as well. So that's my doom and gloom. They're the two teams I think are going to. I mean, obviously, I've let a team off there that I've now berated for week on week on week, and I could do exactly the same again because they've not changed their tact. But at this stage, it is shooting, fishing about, and I'm kind of bored of it. So if they don't change, I'm sick of it. You can just watch back some previous episodes to find what I think about that car, because that's not changed at all. Car that I think has done well though and will do well here, Evolution. Now we've mentioned Epic an awful lot because they're a new team that's been up there, but Evolution is quietly scoring points. Dennis Jordan particularly scoring an awful lot of points in that car. Had a few, you know, been up on the podium, done quite well. And the car itself, as we've seen in the timing sheets there, you know, in the top 3 or 4. So it is up there as well, within 10th or 2 of chance of winning this, you know, or qualifying first, even on that basis. So looking pretty good. And actually, although we haven't actually seen the results come out, the DC results for last round come out yet, you know, I'm not hearing, I haven't seen anything, but people, you know, normally rumour has it, oh, I might have cut, all this sort of stuff. Yeah, I'm hearing that maybe for once Tom Parker doesn't have a back of the grid. So both drivers, if they could be up there, would be great. You know, they both got the experience. Tom Parker had fastest lap last time. I know he was basically mucking around at the back on hot soft tyres just to get the fastest lap, but it proves that the pace is in the car still, I presume. So yeah, so I still think this team is one to watch. Definitely, they really can mix it with the big boys at the top, even though they're a brand new team. Haven't really given them as much. They've sort of been any other year, a brand new team sitting there in 4th in the standings, we'd be all bow down to these. But Epic are there doing even better, and they're a new team, so it's surprising really. It works that way, but it does. But Dennis Jordan utterly dominating that car at the moment, so we'll see what they can do with that. I think that car is looking mighty strong here. On the other car, I'm going to pick Hawkeye. They've done some good developments. I quite like how it's worked out for them. They've done some good areas as well. The car's decent enough. Again, I'm not sure though. People, you know, they had a good result last time out. They had some good top speed. The Talos engine is a question mark slightly for me, but I'd like to see Hawkeye doing well. I didn't want to just pick the top guys. Obviously, Epic are going to do well. Obviously, ACR look like they're going to do well. These teams are always sort of up there. The engines, the engine choices, but the car upgrades all suggest they will be up there. But these are the ones I think potentially could be set for some decent success as well. I think it's about time Martini did well in that car. He's shown so much in Super Cup. He's had about enough time now to develop into this car. I'd like to think he might come through for us on this one, and obviously Costa doing very well in that car as well. So they'll be the ones that I can go with. Yeah, well, exactly. Whoopkey. SOS not on the list because yeah, we know they've got a reason. So they're my 4. So we've got 2 to worry there. I think Magcape and Nordsten, and I think Success, Evolution and Hawkeye. I think that's a reasonable one. I've been told Costa might have a back of the grid. That might make that interesting. Is on you, Martini, a bit more than I planned. Hell, we're going to stick with it. Why not at this stage? Obviously, I'm not saying that other people can't do well out of this. It is so close all the way down, as we showed on that graphic before. You know what? As we showed on that graphic, how close it is, all the way down to about the top 10 teams. So any of them realistically can score some good points. The others may struggle a little bit here, or they have to adapt heavily and do different strategies and things like that, which we have seen drivers pull off and do very, very well in the past. It does take a lot of experience. We are around 10 now. You should know what you're doing in this car by this point if you started the season. If you're management, you should know what you should be developing by this point. Even if you made the mistakes towards the start, that should now be rectified, and you should be able to be catching up because the top teams cannot develop those areas anymore. So for example, if we were saying that weight and Diffuser, by far the better areas to develop, the top teams cannot develop those areas any further. They are not developing those areas any further. They have to develop other areas, so this is a chance for the teams further down to even catch further up. This is potentially one of the closest grids you'll see this year, bar the first 2 rounds. Like, this is probably one of the closest we've got now, and it could even be even closer next time out as well. But this is probably one of the closest so far, so do watch out. I can't wait to see this race. We've got it on Thursday, brought to you by simnews.tv, on GPVWC's YouTube here, and on WTF1's Facebook page as well. Very exciting to be out there. If anyone's watching from over there, hello everybody. Nice to have you all on. I can't wait to see it. There's so much kicking off in this series so far. This is coming up to midsummer break, so most people are going to want to go into that break really well. Nobody's going to want to sit on a 4-week break having had a shocking result. It can happen. I mean, if you're in certain teams, you've had a shocking year, so why not carry it on, I suppose. But I cannot see why not. But yeah, some of these guys deserve a lot better, and I think some of them will do very well. Thank you everybody for joining me. It's nice to have had a good 35-36 of you on here. You've all been very chatty in the chat as well, so it's nice to see them all there. I hope some of you can prove me wrong, particularly on these 2 teams up here, and some others on the grid that I didn't pick. Make me pick you next time. If anyone would like to be on the aftermath, we've got that next Monday after the race. I'd love to have probably a team manager or a driver on that can talk me through. We'll talk through some of the teams, potentially roast you a bit, or praise you. You never know. Ask you some awkward questions maybe. Have a bit of fun really. Let's get involved in GPVWC's Super League. Incredible series. If you're coming to this for the first time, make sure you watch the race, and then after that try and get involved as well. Hit up the Discord, chat to some people, chat to community officer who's Manuel Clont. He'll help you out and sort of match you up with somebody and work out what's the best place for you. There's roles for everybody really in this league at the moment, and rumour has it ITC will be back soon. I know everyone's waiting, oh my god, but World GT's finished now, so ITC is the next thing to come up in that way. So yeah, let's see. I really hope that we get a great race. It looks like we will do. Hockenheim, fantastic circuit, of course. And yeah, next time, let's see you all out on Thursday. And otherwise, I shall see you Monday night. If you want to join me again, see you then. Thank you all much, and good night.